What's up, gang? Brian B.
Miss Emily.
And Miss Megan.
And we have a new microphone.
Yay!
Hopefully that works out. You can hear us a little bit better. So, Brian Picard, thank you for offering to send us a microphone. But I actually have had this podcast mic for a bit. We just had a broken cord, and we got it now. So, what's up to our Facebook peeps? This is a Q&A. So, what kind of questions do we have? What are we going to talk about? I have nothing on my list. We could talk about the State of the Union to start. What's the State of the Union?
That's what we typically do.
Yeah, the State of the Union. So what's the State of the Union? What are we working on today? What have we been working on today?
Oh, Lord. We've been working on putting videos into our site from Country Dance Online.
Yes.
Moving stuff around.
Yep, so we have, if you're a member on our site, westcoastswingonline.com, we have launched countrydanceonline.com, so a lot of you guys have heard us talking about that. And that's kind of been working under this, behind the scenes. And so currently there's two forward-facing sites, westcoastswingonline.com, countrydanceonline.com. They both have some great resources, free resources, blog posts, helpful stuff. And then behind that, we have videos. So whether you come in with one site or the other, and if you're a member of one site, you're going to get all of our videos, at least for now. I know that everyone's been fussing at me and saying we should have internally these guys fussing at me, saying we should have two separate sites, but I want there to be one great resource for all of your dance-related stuff. So ultimately, if you're a member of either site, you will have access to not only all of our West Coast Swing stuff, but all of our country dance and social dance stuff too. So in time, and you'll start seeing videos pop up maybe as soon as tomorrow, and then over the next coming weeks, as we finish editing them and getting them up online and we continue to shoot more. You will see two-step videos, nightclub videos, East Coast, cha-cha,
Not
and after
tomorrow.
that, waltz. Maybe not tomorrow, but
Eventually.
that is what is coming. So
In country swing.
and country swing, which we really liked. I've enjoyed some of the discussions on Facebook, or rather YouTube, about that. So, bingo. So what's on your mind, Miss Emily? What's going on?
I just learned how to edit videos today.
Bingo. So typically, I started editing all the videos, then that's been Miss Megan's thing, and Emily kind of worked behind the scenes, kind of as our event directors for our live events, Derby City Swing and Nulu Open. And since we can't do a live event in May, she is now helping us on the video side. So that's what's going on. Hello, Tim on YouTube. Hello to you, sir. Where are you from? What about our Facebook?
What's up, Jen?
Kathy Osborne, it's all like the usual suspects. Hello, Tanya from Chicago. Gordon has joined us. We know where Gordon's from. Shout out to Mr. Gordon in Singapore. Hello, sir. What time is it there?
He has a question.
Oh, Gordon asked a question. I want to ask, how do you lead?
How does the lead, I think?
How does the lead?
Know where the follower is going for different handholds in West Coast Swing.
Oh, how does the lead know where the follower is going for different handholds in West Coast Swing? So my best way to describe that, and you can chime in, is I think you should have a core understanding, kind of like we taught the whips. You should have a core understanding of, yeah, you're good to go. Everyone say goodbye to Ben. Ben.
Bye, Ben.
Bye, Ben. Ben has set us up. We're live. And so all we have to do is shut the off button, but he did the hard part. Thank you, sir.
No, that's the hard part.
He did the hard part. Shutting it off is the easy part. I can do that. So to answer Gordon's question, you would know what fundamentally you need to lead the follower in a particular pattern, exactly where each step is going and exactly what I need to do with the lead. Then you could literally replace those actions and those techniques and those leads with the other hand. So in most cases, a lot of the patterns will work off either handhold. There will be ones that are more natural than others, as you kind of saw in the video. I crammed Megan through some things that are not particularly natural, but that is the best way to, Kathy says bye, Ben. Ben's in his car by now.
Adios.
Because you guys are on delay by about 20 seconds. So if the world ends while we're here, we're not going to know for 20 seconds. That's not true. We're going to live on in video for 20 seconds.
And forever.
So how would the follower know where to go based upon different handholds? Do you have an answer for that?
Based on different handholds,
Yeah.
or when you're offering a hand, when do I know
You-
to take it?
You saw Gordon's question. You can answer.
Well,
You
Gordon.
can give your own thing.
Going 4 different handholds. So the way that I know that the lead wants my hand is that they are going to offer their hand. And if that's not what your question is, I'm really sorry, but that's how I'm taking it. So if I'm going, or if the follower needs to go for different handholds, it's based on the fact that I am seeing a leader ask for my hand.
Do something, but yeah, I guess similar to what Megan said, if I'm, as the follower, I don't really know what the leader is going to lead me in next, and that's part of my job, is to not anticipate and to know my footwork and all of that good stuff. So
This is what happens. We have a short turnaround of 5 minutes between videos. The mics are stuck on me, and we should have probably planned more time, but I didn't want you guys sitting around, so we have a quick turn. Yeah, but it's tucked in my shirt.
can you not hear me? I'm pretty loud.
Turn the other computer off.
Yeah, it's this mic. Do not make fun of me for disrobing on camera. I'm gonna fish this microphone out so we can all hear. YouTube, you guys are hearing through this. Yeah.
We can talk about other questions while we do that.
I'm literally. Don't worry about me. Hold that. So Tony is from New Jersey. How's it going in New Jersey?
Fun.
What's the latest? You guys are close to New York and the hot spot, and we're here in the Midwest, which is much safer, lower cases, less population. So, and we're on shutdown, so we're doing okay. How are you guys doing there in well, wherever you're from with this crazy COVID-19? I think we're all in lockdown.
Insane.
Yeah, for the most part. Take it off, Brian.
I was wondering how long it was going to take someone
Yeah,
to say that. Because, you know, he did that a lot when he was dancing.
when I was younger. Carmichael says, may I have some of your beverage? Yes. So this is good old Knob Creek from here, from Kentucky. We could talk about bourbon. If anyone likes bourbon, I know a lot
Just
of
watched a documentary last
useless
night.
stuff about bourbon. Speaking of Country Dance Online, Keith says, if you're already a member of West Coast Swing Online, when you sign up, is Country Dance Online a separate login? No, it is not. Great question, and this is one that we are beginning to address on the site. We've even changed the logo. So if you imagine West Coast Swing Online or Country Dance Online, if you come in through either of those sites, when you get to our video player, you're going to end up, it's the same video player. So if you're a member, you're going to get access to everything. You can enter through either of the sites, but all of the videos are going to be housed in the same area. So if you're a member of one site, you will have access to everything. So if you are a member, be patient with us, because there's going to be a lot of work done behind the scenes and things are going to look different. We have it all sketched out and we have a plan, and we're going to try to enact that plan as quick as possible to have
Going on right now.
It's going on right now behind the scenes. So there might be a little disruption for a day where you'll say, hey, this is how it was organized yesterday and today it's different. But hopefully once we press play on our plan, we'll run through it real quick, and then it will be easily navigated. So you'll be able to pick your dance style, your level, and then if you're interested in a technique or something like that, you can add that in.
Everybody wants you to take your shirt off.
Tony says they're just staying inside up there in New Jersey. Yeah, we're inside here. We took a little bit of break middle of the day. Excuse me, went out and got some ice cream where you were able to walk in one person in the store. So I stood outside.
Raiders!
I stood outside and talked to Megan on the phone about some video stuff, and Miss Emily was the one person allowed in the store to go ahead and get ice cream, and then we drove around the parks over by your house, basically.
Yes.
And
Great parks.
yeah, we saw
Great
people.
neighborhood.
We saw people social distancing. So we saw some people.
We saw some people not social distancing
Yeah, there's some
as well.
people playing, soccer together, but there was people laying out, and they were all like 6 feet apart. So that's.
One of my neighbors
That's
was laying out in her driveway.
I totally would have done that if I had time.
In the front yard?
Yeah, who cares? I like the sun.
If you like your Facebook peeps, you gotta pass this back and forth.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
I mean, you're in the middle. Why can't you?
Because it's really
They can
awkward.
hear us. They can hear us when we stand up. So we're about the.
Look at this. Put this on the bottom. Keith said you make 2 different payments. No, it is one. Once you're a member to one, you will have access you're a member on Country Dance Online or West Coast Swing Online, it's the same. You all have everything, and everything will be included in membership. So if you just sign in, become a member, regardless of if you enter through westcoastswingonline.com or Country Dance Online, you will have full access to everything with one membership. What's that? Right there. So greetings from New Hampshire. Thanks for doing these videos. Do you have any plans to put together a routine for beginners and a practice one for intermediate dancers? So this kind of goes through for other people.
Yes, so before all of this craziness happened with COVID-19, we had put together an intermediate choreography video so that people could learn to dance.
It's not drawing anything
To a specific song, and we had choreography for the entire thing. It's kind of like the flash mob, so it had like an A, B, C, and a tag and all of that good stuff. So we did a little bit of choreography last weekend, I believe, the 32 counts of choreography. So my plan was to do some more of that, and you can do more beginner style and intermediate style. But if you are looking for choreography specifically, you can look for the 32 counts that we've already done, and then we will probably be doing some more difficult and intricate intermediate stuff along the way. Since we're going to be doing this for a while, it seems.
Let me know, YouTube, if you can hear me if we're back. We got a mic soon to go out. It's crazy. Still having mic issues. Can you check on everything? That's fine, that's normal. Still bad audio, William. We're coming through. I don't know whether. Can you see it now? Can you hear me now?
It looks like it's working.
Am I getting bored? No, I'm not getting bored. I'm trying to make it work. Trying to make it work. But it's still bad audio. I'm not operating this mic. Because I can see myself right there. What do you turn the gain up? Is it turn the gain up? Is that better? That's a little better. Yeah, mic static as well. No problem. Maybe it's fix that. It's better. I don't know. It's fix here. That's what we get for trying this new mic to hear us better. We try to improve it, and we are failing. We're failing. So Mike asked two questions. The best Bourbon tour when all is behind us. Get Ben back, Diane says. Yeah, poor Ben. Sounds like the audio source changed. It's still static. Can we double check the connection? Maybe I'm part of the
No, it is there. That is where it's supposed to be.
Don't know. Hang with us.
This is what happens.
The active one is on the laptop, so it's drawing through the laptop. That's what it is. So we got to make sure that the mic input is through that. Or
That's what we've been using for this.
cool.
So
Thank you, Vincent, for the. Now that we know it's being drawn through the laptop, that makes sense. But that's definitely not coming through that. So we got Cozy. Can you adjust the camera in this way, and we'll go back to the laptop? We're coming. Just adjust the camera back out so we fit in it. There you go. And now, if we can get that laptop very closer to us,
we'll just switch
we'll
it.
take all this out here. You're still gonna need to see that. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna reach. See if it's gonna reach. All right, is that any better now that we can play with this? Yeah, see, that's not working. Can you hear me now?
There's no light on that now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry for the delay, peoples.
I think we're good. Yeah, if you want to try that, you can. You can if you want to try that. All right, hang on, YouTube. Check the cable under the silver mic. Yeah, that was the one that was broken. Okay. Here we go. Last try. Last stab. Bang. yeah, I probably messed up that cable. How are we doing now? Is that any better? That should be better because it should be coming through this mic.
Hi, Facebook.
Hello, Facebook. Yeah, I touched that cable and I screwed up the mic. There we go. All right, Facebook, are we back? Let me know. Let's head on over to Facebook. Can you pull up Facebook for me? There we go. Miss Megan's going to pull up Facebook. We'll go back to interacting here in a second. Bring back Ben. Bring back Ben.
Yes, Ben's our tech
So
guru.
best bourbon places. If you come to Kentucky, there are a lot of them. Downtown is actually great. So if you're just visiting Louisville, there's a lot of cool touristy style things that you can do in downtown Louisville. It's become quite a cool city, and I was really excited to host everybody here in May for our country and swing event. But sadly, that's not going to happen. But there are some great touristy places downtown that you can see in just an hour or two, and then between 45 minutes and 2 hours away are basically all of the bourbon distilleries. And my favorite one is probably Buffalo Trace. It's the longest running one. That's my favorite. I also really like Maker's Mark. That's really beautiful. And then there's a ton in the what they call the Bourbon Trail in between. So audio is good on Facebook. That's good. How is YouTube doing? I need to drink. How's our YouTube audio? Can we check that?
Yes, I was just trying to get that up first.
How are we doing, YouTube? Are we still alive? Let's refresh that and see if YouTube is still alive. All right, YouTube, someone shout out. Let me know if you can hear me because we've got the mic changed there. But going back to our Facebook questions, let's scooch back. So thanks for hanging with us. I appreciate it. Yep. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, there's lots of stuff. Yeah, so rolling through our Facebook comments. Let's see. Yeah, so the payments are the same for West Coast Swing Online and Country Dance Online, right? So I gotta hold that for me. There we go, because otherwise it's in my pocket. So it's the same. Then we went through a bunch of comments that said, "Can you hear us?" Yes, good. Facebook is good. Gordon signed up for the first version of Musicality, and he asked, "We just put out the Musicality, the Ultimate Guide to Musicality. We've done a 20 video course on Musicality. We did our first one almost 4 years ago." Okay, gotcha. It's not in my pocket. I just thought you need to check it.
No.
And so we just recently released Musicality 2.0, and so some people have had questions. If I have Musicality, the Ultimate Guide to Musicality, and you've purchased that course 1.0, do you have to buy 2.0? No, you do not. We just updated the course in your membership. So everything from the Musicality 1.0 still exists. We redid the material in a better way. I was super proud of it. Took us like 6 hours to do. I think there's about 20 videos, so it really flowed through. We were able to use some music. We really dug in. We identified the 3 basic buckets of people who struggle with timing, people really trying to connect to the music, and then later people who are really trying to dig into their musicality. So it is definitely a 2.0 version, but nothing is missing from 1.0. So if you've already purchased our Musicality course, everything's going to be updated there. So you will be able to, you just have access to it. So if you go to your login, you will go ahead and get loud volume and hissing. I have no idea where that's from on YouTube. Crazy. So yeah, that answers the Musicality version 1.0 versus 2.0. Going back to our Facebook comments. Keith said, "Thanks for the info on Country Dance Online, and Emily's 2-step song list was awesome." Yeah, we're putting together resources, and I talked to a DJ friend of mine, Jonathan, who's going to be on the cruise. You didn't hear this, nor did you. So we're working on, he's going to help us continue to build out song lists for all the dance. So Emily organized them in a really awesome, we have a PDF, and then we have a web page that has all of the, like our top 10 two-step songs, and then we broke them down by music speed and country, non-country, so we have more of those resources coming dance by dance for you guys. What else? connections on 4 and 6 of 6-count patterns, and 4, 6, and 8 of 8-count patterns. And then said the audio it seems to be okay. So that's a good question, and it kind of detailed. I think that where you are in counts 2, 4, 6, and 8 of your patterns matters a lot. I think fundamentally it's in our musicality course. That's the most, that's the clearest timing that we have to be. And then where are we connected? And I would say in a 6-count pattern, like if we use a sugar pitch, 1 connects 2, 3 and connect at the end of 4, and we continue through 5 and 6. You could take a side pass. You're connected on 1, and then you're kind of following the connection 2, 3, and 4. There's a stop in the connection, we anchor 5 and 6. And the whip is a little different. So we're connected 1 into the 2, and then it continues for 3 and. And I think that's the heaviest connection point. And then it changes for 4, 5 to count 6 before we anchor 7, 8. So one of the things I describe is the step before the anchor. So if it's a 6-count pattern, it's count 4. If it's an 8-count pattern, it's count 6. Those are the ones where we're kind of over in the connection before the anchor step kicks up. Let's slide down Facebook comment. Actually, let's double check YouTube. We still got some people hanging. Country Fried, is it Country Fried? Country Fried Chicken?
No, it's not country fried chicken.
What is it? Country Fried, that's the name of the song, by Zach Brown Band, is a great 2-step. Do you agree?
Yes.
I don't know any music. Emily
Yes.
agrees. Do you agree?
I don't know.
You're
Zach
like
Brown
me.
has a lot of good 2-steps.
Gotta use this.
Zach Brown Band has a lot of good 2-steps. Some of them which made the list.
Bingo. That shouldn't be the same too bad. What's good on Facebook? YouTube is better, but there's still background snow. I am so sorry. Megan, your shirt is so cute. Oh, you were gonna wear that the other day.
Stay home with my dogs.
I'm gonna stay home with my dogs. Gordon likes your shirt too. Maybe we should sell that on Let's Go Swing Online.
Well, I bought that online, so I don't know if I can make it.
Bingo. Oh, there you go. I had the great idea. We have a dance event called Derby City Swing, and we had the great idea. We have these stickers that say "Talk Derby to Me" because people call our event the Derby because it's themed after the Derby. And so I thought it'd be a great idea to trademark "Talk Derby to Me." And so I looked it up a couple years ago, and the trademark had actually expired. It was actually held by the roller derby. And so then maybe I had a few adult beverages with my friend, and it was about 1 o'clock in the morning with Louis. And we're like, we're going to get that and trademark it. And a lawyer from Lexington, Kentucky, like literally trademarked it the week before. So it is now gone for 8 more years. Talk Derby to Me.
Did I miss any questions about that?
Any other questions? Kayla, who lives here in Kentucky, says, we're on quarantine, B, ain't nobody doing bourbon tours. Someone asked Kayla what would be going on, where would we suggest them going when things are better. So, a lot of highs. Hopefully the static is gone. It's probably not. I don't know what the issue is. We're pretty good.
That we tried to use a new mic.
Tried to do the mic. It worked great for a little bit. And we run tests, but we're way better the first time we blew it all.
In like 2 minutes.
Mike said, did you see part 2 of my question? No, Mike. Let me go back
There's
up.
1 and a 2.
Let's see if we can find Mike's.
Ah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Yeah, I do miss a few. The best way for a leader and follower to let the other take control for a while a West Coast swing without the follower hijacking throughout the follow. Ooh, that's a good one. So the question, in essence, like, what's the communication between us, leader and follower, for the follower to communicate either kind of when she's going to take something over without purely hijacking?
I don't know, I don't do that.
Megan's a real follower. You want to answer basics cold?
I like to follow.
Yeah.
I like following too. I'm just not as good at it because I like to take control of things.
So how do you tell the leader to take control, or do you just aggravate them all and hijack?
I mean, I try not to aggravate anyone, but as far as I don't like hijacking either. So I like being able to play within the timing that I am given. And if I happen to feel something in the music that perhaps they don't, I try to preempt that by doing something with my body or my footwork or something like that right before, say, I want to hit a 1 in a very specific way. I try to, I'm still within my movements and my counts, but maybe before the 1 or before the 8 or something like that, which will allow me to hit something in the music. I do an acceleration, or I slow down, or a level change, or something like that to give that away, but I try not to hijack because I don't enjoy doing that. I do enjoy having more freedom in my body, but I like doing it with the timing restrictions, if you will, of the patterns that I'm doing.
Yeah, I think, and West Coast Swing at its height does have a very good conversation between the leaders and the followers, right? It is not just pure lead and follow. That is what we're taught in the beginning, and that's how it works to start. But really, as they get better, if you look at the highest level people, there's much more of a conversation. A lot of what's being led from the high-level leaders is being driven by the followers. So I don't think there's something I can do to make the follower do it. In the old school ways, this is a little bit before you guys, it used to be called playing, and they would literally kind of let off the lead, and the follower would stand there and kick their leg between the leader and do all this stuff. And it really, it was a thing, but I think it also confused quite a lot of the followers. Nowadays, I think it's much more the ability of the follower to move their own body, and as they are accenting and moving and just really following the patterns that, let's say, the leader is leading, as they follow, knowing where they are and being aware of where they are in the pattern, as they move their bodies in different ways, it starts to change the feel of it for me as the leader and starts to open up what might want to come next. And if I wasn't tied up with microphones, we could demonstrate some of this, and we probably will in a video because that's a good comment. Gordon says, talk about the shirts. Do we sell T-shirts for both of your West Coast Swing events? We do sell T-shirts for
Derby City Swing.
Where
Okay,
can I
I'm
get
talking
those?
about them. Well, usually if you come to the event, we sell them on site.
Gordon lives in Singapore.
If you're interested in one of our shirts, we don't have those online because they're made from Jonathan, who we spoke about earlier. He actually has a screen printing business, and so we got those shirts through him. But yeah, so we don't have the Talk Derby to Me shirts online. It's possible we do have a few extras here, so we could possibly put them online somehow, but
Gordon, shoot us an email. We will hook you up. Brian at westcoastswingonline.com. Shoot us an email. You've been with us for every single thing, so we'll see if we can't get you. I don't know what we have in stock, but shoot us an
send me
email.
what size you need, and we'll take care
And then we'll see if we can hook you up. So someone jumped in and said, I don't mind the follower hijacking because that makes him pay him or her, makes the leader pay more attention to the follower. Yeah, and kind of to my point, if the follower takes over and hacks the whole dance, it's not particularly enjoyable because it's like, why am I here? But if the follower takes liberties within the patterns and she understands, he or she understands what their job is within it and doesn't wreck the overall structure of it, then as they take liberties, it actually makes my job way easier as the leader from a higher level. If you're on the lower end of the spectrum and you're, as a leader, worried about getting through your patterns as the follower, you're still struggling, then kind of that discussion is the next level. But I think that's what makes West Coast Swing really good.
Yeah. I always joke that even if you kind of stray from the normal basics, if you put an anchor step at the end, you're doing West Coast Swing. So it's all good.
If it starts walk, walk, and ends with an anchor, it's West Coast Swing.
Right on.
Then Mike jumped in and said, do I have to pay attention to something? Do I have to pay attention to something special, I assume, from the follower in particular? No. Yeah, connection, Megan said. So really, I'm monitoring and this is a good thing for the followers to think about too. Like, if you're monitoring, especially early in the dance with a particular partner, like, what does the basic whip feel like? What's the basic side pass feel like? What is the what is the default standard for this dance with this person to this song? And that's going to change person to person, song to song. But if you're quickly in the first couple of patterns monitoring what normal feels like when you're both feeling out the dance in the first few patterns, that lets you start to identify changes. Like Emily goes crazy and she starts hearing a Justin Timberlake song and she starts going crazy. And so immediately I can feel the change in everything. So I am now no longer just purely leading patterns. I'm now more involved in a back and forth in the dance. You like that, Justin Timberlake?
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake. So
You like
that's,
his songs too.
I do, of course I do.
Or Bruno Mars.
Keith asked, do each of us have one dance that's a personal favorite to teach? You want to go first?
Sure. I really like to teach two-step because I really like to do two-step. I like to turn. The easier, well, let's just say the easiest, in my opinion, to teach would be rumba or foxtrot. West Coast, when your students get it, is really, really fun to teach as well. But in the beginning, it's quite hard to teach because it is a very hard dance to learn. So ultimately, I would say two-step.
How about you, Emily, as I pour some bourbon on me?
So very similar to Megan, I enjoy teaching beginners rumba as well as foxtrot. I actually enjoy teaching them bachata too because I think the music is super fun and it's legitimately side together, side tap, side together, side tap. So if you can get your feet to do that, you can get it to really do whatever you want. Eventually. Then two-step is fun. Tango's fun. I love nightclub. I'm really indecisive, so I like all dances.
Yeah, notice I didn't really decide.
Yeah. Two-step is awesome. I'm from Texas, so it's like, I think in my blood. Yeah. Sorry, that didn't really give you one.
Yeah,
I
I
like them
usually
all.
have, usually when people ask like, what's my favorite dance to do, I usually have three answers. Number one, my favorite dance, like if I had to pick one dance to do, it would be West Coast Swing because it's super versatile, hence West Coast Swing Online.
Yay!
If I had one dance to do like as a performer, that would typically be something like cha-cha, maybe East Coast Swing at times. Or polka became pretty fun, but I would say usually I'm a rhythm dancer by heart, cha-cha, rumba, swing, bolero, mambo, so that would be my preference as a competitor. And then my favorite to learn is also always moving. I think the latest would be something like waltz. And then my favorite to teach recently, for me, for sure, it's been coaching higher level competitors. And for a long, long time, it didn't matter at all. Really anyone who's on a journey, so I like anyone who knows where they are and has a goal, regardless of how good they are, that's willing to work through the steps to that goal. Because at this stage, after 20-something years, I've seen a lot of people through, like Megan from a 15-year-old all the way on to her professional career, and Benjamin, who now dances with Emily. Like, I remember when he walked in on day one, and now he dances professionally. So I've watched enough of that journey, so anyone who's on that journey, I really enjoy. And to be a little elitist, I like coaching the competitors. And really the reason why is because the pace is faster. So as a new person, without a lot of practice time, because you're new, it's difficult to practice a lot. You have a real life and other things. But competitors are typically in the studio most days of the week. And so as a coach, the information that you can give can get pretty detailed, and they're going to put a ton of time into that. And so selfishly, I get to see the results of the coaching much more quickly. So there you go. Jake asked, what are our favorite West Coast swing songs to dance to? I like upbeat stuff. I like Michael Jackson stuff. I like the uptown funk style funky things. How about you? Justin Timberlake? Anything Justin Timberlake?
Not anything, but very much the upbeat songs. I also like the slow lyrical stuff like Maids of Soul. Acoustic is a good one. The Other by Love, however you say his name. But there's tons of good ones out there. So Can't Stop the Feeling's good. He's got a new one, The Other Side, which is super fun. Uptown Funk is good. Finesse. There's tons of Dance Monkey's another fun one. Yeah. So again, indecisive. I like dancing to a lot of different stuff, but those are some ones
What
like that.
about you, Miss Megan?
South of the border. You play it all the time.
Yeah, it's easy to play. Overall, I really like lyrical songs to dance to, as well as the newer type of West Coast swing songs that
House
have more of
songs.
a samba beat.
House
Oh yeah.
They're just more, I don't know,
Mhm.
they have more energy, I
For
guess.
you, yeah, you like that stuff.
But they also, at the same time, might have a little bit more of a lyrical feel with the samba beat. I don't have song titles because I have a crap memory and I can't remember anything. So, yeah.
Kathleen says hi from Pittsburgh. Hello, Kathleen from Pittsburgh. Kayla says nightclub, exclamation
No.
point, followed by a poop emoji.
I
know
I
Kayla.
love you.
Kayla's a student of ours here at the studio, and she does not like nightclub. And I used to not like it at all either. And even though it was probably our weakest competitive dance, was it?
Yeah,
We didn't
Stop.
we didn't stop doing it. We just didn't try hard at it.
I, however, loved nightclub.
Bingo. Emily likes nightclub, which
She
is
does.
why she's featured prominently in our nightclub videos, which will be coming out on
Country Dance
Country Dance Online. So
Very soon.
very soon. We've got quite a few of them shot. We're editing them today. We have more coming up soon.
We had Brooklyn and Keith at Derby City Swing.
Yep. They live just a little over 3 hours from us here.
They actually won our Rising Star competition. The audience picks the winner.
Bingo. Yep. They were 3 winners. Any other questions there, YouTube and or Facebook? I'm going to refresh YouTube because sometimes the comments don't come through at the right pace. I apologize again for tonight's. I was so looking forward to this too. I like this interaction.
This is still fun.
It is fun. It is fun, but I'm sorry for the terrible mic issues. It was my big fat idea because we had this better microphone.
Brian just
should be
doesn't
better.
really like to plan things out as much as I do.
Yes,
So testing the mic today
we did test the
stresses me
mic.
out.
We did test the mic. We tested the mic and it worked
About
great.
3 minutes
And then
before you.
Emily, yeah.
And then what?
Not Emily. Then Benjamin left. Then
Yeah,
Benjamin
Ben,
left.
you're a good luck charm with the mics.
Yeah. We had a lot going on today. So, again, if you guys
Tons.
don't know, we run dance cruises, and so we have a cruise going in July, and so that's been quite the headache to manage. And so we started with 165. We got a question. We started with 166 cruisers, and we're down to 42. And so I shot a video in my little captain's hat for all the cruisers. So that's what we were doing before this, Miss Megan. We had business
Oh, I
to
know.
attend to.
But
Um,
just don't change things that are fine.
So Tim asked, is there a lot of difference between rumba and nightclub two-step?
Yeah.
Yes. That's kind of like there's a common question, especially in ballroom dance studios. It says, is foxtrot like two-step? Because foxtrot is slow, slow, quick, quick, and two-step is quick, quick, slow, slow. Is it the same? Nope, because I can count West Coast swing in slow, slow, quick, quick, slow, quick, quick, slow, and that ain't got nothing to do with country two-step. So it's a completely different dance, not even just technically, but in its, every dance has a pattern structure and a rhythm structure. So structurally, how do the patterns work? So those of you guys who dance West Coast swing, it's in a slot, right? That's the structure of the dance, and the leader is moving out of the way in different ways, and the follower is passing and coming back, and there's spins and twirls. That's the structure of the dance. Rumba is not based off that at all. It's much more based off of a box, and then you can get out of it in the crossover break. So it's structured more like cha-cha, or even to a small, not even really salsa exactly. Salsa is more of a slotted dance. So it is structured completely differently. You can look on our YouTube channel and search Beginner Rumba. We did a Beginner Rumba video. And then you can look, I don't think we have, then we did a Beginner Nightclub video just a couple nights ago, 2 nights ago.
Beginner and intermediate nightclub.
Yeah, so you can see the differences in the two. Nightclub is, if you're a ballroom dancer, nightclub is more analogous to bolero. that's much closer of a cousin. Technical differences at the high level, but generally more similar than they are different. Hello, Art from the Lake of the Ozarks. Where's that? What state is that in? Forgive my ignorance.
No clue. Never heard of it.
That shows smarter than a fifth grade. That's why I'm asking. I don't know. I'm ignorant. I didn't
Art,
think I
let
could
us
see.
know.
Brian says he should be having a drink with us down in Calgary this weekend. Are we coming up next year? I'm not sure, Brian. Yes, I wish we were. That is a great city. I love Canada. They're 20% nicer than Americans. But we really, and that event, the Calgary Dance Stampede, is awesome. I think Keith and Chris will do an amazing job with it. It has a great history. It's the largest it's the largest workshop event in North America. It has over 100-something workshops. Great level of instruction. They even let Megan and I come. So really it falls off right above us. We're like the losers of the group. No, just teasing. So it's great. And there's a great bourbon place right down the street from the hotel. It's in the Hyatt. I think it's a Hyatt downtown, right by the tower. And there's a great bourbon spot that we try to sneak off to with some friends. It's a good time.
Missouri.
Tony says it's nice of us to do the videos and to take the time to do the videos. He's been watching for years. Thanks to all you do. Thank you, Tony. And if you guys can't see on YouTube, Tony has a little top fan next to his name. So does Brian. Appreciate you guys. Tim says Lake of the Ozarks is in Missouri. We have a teacher that's in Missouri. Art jumped in and said Missouri too. So, yes, we have a teacher lives in Kansas City that went home to visit his family and never came
He hasn't
back.
come back yet.
Because I said, you went home to visit your family and we're shut down for a month.
Might as well
I would hang out
stay.
with my family if I were you. So, Mr. Jacob is there.
GT.
We miss you.
Yes. And you've seen him in some pictures on West Coast Swing Online, too.
Yes.
Tim just getting to the brass tacks. It says, greetings from Colorado. Emily and Brian both demo with Emily and Megan both demo with me. What is the relationship, i.e. coworkers, personal? Dun dun dun. So I've known Megan a long time, since she was a teenager. So she came up kind of in the studio. Actually, she's one of the few people. We've been open for 15 years, 14 years, 14, 15 years, 2005. So over 15 years, and so January of 2006. Yeah, January 1st of 2006. We actually started in 2005, but we opened our doors in January, like the first week of January 2006. So Megan is the only person left that predates the studio back to 2004. So that's where Megan and I come from. We met back in December of 2012 in Birmingham, Alabama. And so Emily moved here
Almost 6 years ago.
Almost 6 years ago. Tax day. She moved here on tax
Which
day.
is not tax day this year. That's
so you're gonna
crazy.
get extra time.
Yeah.
There you go, Tim. And you'll also see with us, Benjamin is the tall guy that was in one video earlier this week. He's taught for us now for a couple of years. He had a regular job, and he actually jumped in and became a full-time professional dancer in September. And then he recently jumped out and starts a new job on Monday morning, going back to the corporate world for his safety, not knowing what's going to go on with us here. So I'm proud of him and excited for him. Who else? JT, Jacob Thornton, is a third-generation dancer. So his grandparents were kind of on the ground floor of the United Country Western Dance Council, and they won a Pioneer Award this year for their work in helping country dance competitively in the early years. And his mom and dad both dance. His dad co-owns a studio down in Wichita. Wichita? Mm-hmm. Yeah, a step ahead. Step ahead. Megan and I went down there and taught a couple years ago. So he is a third-generation dancer. So he is the other member of our team. And then a lot of you guys might or might not know, my mom actually works for us and has for about 7 years. She started here in the studio, working the desk and handling the phones. And then as our business grew and we started dance flying cruises, she worked full-time for that and still does, despite the fact that cruising is a little dicey. So there you go, Tim. That's the gist of what goes on between us. Art says his mother is watching as well from Missouri. She taught ballroom
With his dad.
with your dad, and she loves you guys. Thanks, Art. That's awesome. We went, where did we go? Where did we teach? In the old kind of country hall that's been around for like 40 years. It was part of the house.
Albuquerque.
No, it wasn't Albuquerque.
Dance hall?
Kansas City?
Mm,
In Missouri. I wish I could remember the name of it.
No. It was
Chris brought us in. No. Was it?
Yes.
Was it? No, it was the
No.
country dance hall. Man, we traveled so
I
much.
don't know.
It blends in. We went to Missouri. It was Missouri. And I wish I could remember the name of the place we taught. We did a workshop with a gal by the name of Chris. And we did the workshop at a place that she worked at. She taught fitness classes at. But we did a Friday performance. Tim says, would that be Dave and Lynn Thornton? Yes. So, Jacob. Keep messing up with his dad.
Jacob.
Yeah.
Jacob and
So
Jason.
Jacob just turned 19 fairly recently, and he is actually this past December. And so, yeah, he works full-time for us. Right now he's vacationing with his family during coronavirus. But we love that kid. And for me, yes, Chris, Walters in Kansas City. Thank you, Vicky. That's where we were, Walters in Kansas City. That was fantastic. It was so cool. Martha Elder? Is that her name?
I think so.
This goes back a long time. So some of these are the people that were the cool people when I started, and it was cool to be now like the grown-up adult dance instructor going back in those communities. So I love that each community grows through literally a person with a boom box. So pretty much every community you're in, someone started with a boom box or beating on a dirt pocket with a stick at one point when no one showed up, and they all grew from those people. So I love visiting those places. Kathy asked how my mom is doing with all this coronavirus stuff. Thankfully, she doesn't get out a lot in general. So leaving the house isn't a big deal for her, and she works from home. So the whole cruise business is basically run out of an office in her house. We do have an office next door. So thankfully she's kind of home and safe. And she told me today on the phone, she goes, as long as it's nice weather and you come over and we get some food, like we took a little picnic there the other day. And so we took a picnic and we kind of made burgers on the grill at the house and went over and ate with mom and didn't hug and stayed 6 feet away. So yeah, she's doing well. She's not any bothered except for dealing with the cruise stuff, which is just a headache. Jill says she was there in Missouri and took the lessons. Thanks, Jill. We had a great time. Moose says Carol Shaw and Martha Elder. Yes. Names that probably go over your heads. Martha had the white hair. She was there in Missouri. Yeah, super cool. Where's the question? There's a question on YouTube. Jake said, a lot of salsa can work in West Coast Swing. Yes. Salsa and West Coast Swing are actually similar in my book in the fact that they are slotted dances. And we had a teacher here for a while, David, who was really into salsa. So I took a good swing at salsa for a little bit. And like it does for probably all of us, as you start getting better and you start to think you have it, you learn all these salsa patterns, you get in the mood, you're going out salsa dancing, and then West Coast Swing just starts to crop in. And either one of two things happens. Either number one, you start leading like you know how to do and it works, or you go, I'm just dancing West Coast Swing to salsa music. So that did happen. Have you had any experience with salsa dancing versus West Coast Swing?
I mean, I've done them individually. But then we also, in the West Coast Swing team, made the salsa rock and go whip. The whip with the side of salsa, which you guys now have on the West Coast Swing online. But no, I haven't necessarily seen salsa meld into West Coast or vice versa. When I've been out dancing, that is.
Cool. Now, do you have any thoughts, salsa versus?
Back in the day when we had a lot of salsa in our, well, actually, we had salsa dances here at Dance Louisville. I would get a little mixed up in salsa and start anchoring for West Coast. So yeah, I'm also not a huge fan of salsa. I like bachata way better. So I don't really do a whole lot of salsa unless I have to.
Cool. I like it. We got some questions flying in. So I see your question, Keith. I'm going to get to you. Same thing with you, Gordon. But I'm going to backtrack to YouTube for just a second. Martin asked, do I know how the competitors reacted to the new swing content judge at the U.S. Open? What are your thoughts on that? So for those of you guys who don't know, West Coast swing is what I call street dance, right? So it is not written down in a little book. Ballroom dancing is written down in a little book. We kind of all agree to go by the little book, and it's pretty fundamental. West Coast is not that way, right? All of us kind of teach things a little different. So it's a street dance. It's lived and grown in a kind of authentic way. It's never been clearly organized for everyone to know exactly where every footstep goes for every pattern. So that being said, competitively, as things change over time and music changes and styles change, every 10 to 20 years, the dance really evolves, right? It evolved back in the early 50s from Lindy Hop into the West Coast swing we know today. And over the last 50 years, it's really changed from its original versions. So what they did at the U.S. Open, the U.S. Open is the world championship of West Coast swing. If you're a professional West Coast swing dancer, you want to dance at the U.S. Open, and it will be your dream to win the U.S. Open. Funny fact, Miss Emily has a U.S. Open swing title to her credit.
I do.
People don't even know she was. You want to explain the
Sure. I think it was 2013. My studio at the time, I worked in Austin, Texas. It was Go Dance Studio. So shout out to Miley and Shadri and Susan, who now own it. Gary and Susan actually kind of coached and choreographed the team. There's a lot of
current U.S. Open champion, Gary and Susan.
Yes, sorry, Gary McIntyre, Susan Kirkland. So it was comprised of basically all of the instructors of Go Dance, and so we actually did fundraisers and we worked really, really hard, and we all went to the U.S. Open and our team won. So that was probably one of the coolest experiences I've ever participated in.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool to put that into reference. And is it fair to, I can say it because I'm doing the Bourbon. Emily is a pretty amazing dancer, and she was only the third best dancer on that team.
Yes. So for those of you who know Susan Kirkland, obviously he said
U.S. Open champion.
Current U.S. Open Classic champion. Bernadette Carmichael was also on the team, and then myself, I guess. We were all in the foreground of that.
To put that in perspective, Bernadette and her partner, Sloan Hansen, are country western competitors, and Bernie and Sloan were this past year was 2019? So they were
2019,
this is 2020. So 2019? They won in 2019. And second place was Megan and I. So that puts all that in perspective. So to answer Martin's question, whatever. They finished one place behind us. We didn't beat them. Bums me out. But they're nice people. I like them. They're good people. But I try to be good.
But she was on my swing team.
But she's on my swing team. So the point is, they're all bad mama jamas. They're all bad mama jamas. And only one person can win. So how did the competitors react? I don't know directly. A good friend of mine is a DJ.
Well, at least showcase people.
They're not happy. So what they tried to do is they tried to create a structure around West Coast swing so that when you judged it, it's so open-ended, right? We joked about if it starts with a walk, it ends with a triple, it's West Coast swing. And the triple steps are even gone because musically and socially it's completely changed. So they tried it, and they did a good job. They worked really hard, and I've been around long enough to see dance organizations have to address the question of what is cha-cha? What is American-style cha-cha versus international-style cha-cha? And they have to address this at a professional level. And it's hard to put structure around art. Good way to think about this is think about the Olympics, right? So, not to diverge, but the Olympics, if you think about diving, right? If I do one dive completed perfectly versus one flip in a dive completed perfectly, as opposed to three flips that's only 80% as good, how do I weight that, right? And so what they have to do for Olympic sports is, from the artistic side, they have to start to create numbers. If you do this, it's worth this much versus this is worth this much. And then they give you a technical and an artistic, right, in skating.
Good God, they changed that system.
Yeah, so
they went from an easy, well, I want to say easy, at least easy for us to understand on the watching side of it, from like 10s and 6s and numbers to you have no idea how anything is judged in skating now. Like
all sorts of artistry stuff, all sorts of how hard a move could be. I'm being picked. A move could be one level, and then you change one little thing about how you're doing it, and it becomes another level. And if you put combinations of certain things together, then you get more scores. Yeah, it's just, I think that swing is probably much easier to judge.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like, that's the tricky thing that and I was on they made a committee because they wanted dancing to be in the Olympics, and I got to sit in on some of those committee meetings, and it was interesting to take a dance sport, like, let's say country dancing, and go, well, how do the Olympic committees would come back and say, well, this is the structure you need to put around it. We're like, we don't know what a whip with a double outside turn is versus a whip with a double outside turn with a duck and a blah, 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 and a rock and go, and we had no structure to do that. So the U.S. Open tried to do that to some degree and create a swing content judge. And so the net result of that is they basically would have one person who would look over all the routines and say, this does not have the appropriate amount of swing content. They have a set of rules that the competitors got that determine that. And so in a lot of cases, some of the very best routines that you would look and say, I like that. That looks like my mom would say, I like that routine. That's one of the best routines out there. But it didn't have the correct amount of swing content as per their rules, as per that particular swing content judge's ruling. So is it fair? Yes, because those are the judges and those are the rules and it's their interpretation. And as competitors, we go out there and we go, well, those are the rules. You're marking the scorecard, and we're going to put our souls on the line for you to tell us where we land. And first time out, there was a lot of really good routines that received violations. And so as a competitor, I'm sure it did not feel good. And as competitors, now that I'm a former competitor, I can say this. Like, we have egos, right? And we think those old people don't know what the hell they're doing, and they never did anything as good as we do. And that's what we think as competitors. Do you think that? No?
I mean, yes and no, but I also think that swing is slightly different than country, which I think you're talking about, because swing actually does have judges who are current and who have been there. Country does have that as well, but sometimes depending on the event, depending on the level that they're judging, sometimes the judges have not always been through the process that they are judging, per se.
Yeah, and I'm going to get philosophical here and say this, and I'll use Jordan and Tatiana, who were the winningest U.S. Open swing couple ever. What they did at the highest level, this is me talking, but I have an opinion. What they did at the highest level, like no one else had ever done before, right? They're the most successful couple across period of time. You can make arguments for someone like Benji Schwimmer, but some of those people that push the envelope, well, even if you're a former winner of that event from 15 years ago, what's being done 15 years later is literally, probably athletically and artistically, sits on the shoulders of what you did. So the best competitors out there are doing things at such a high level that we're just sitting there trying to give our opinions as judges. So that's a roundabout way of saying I don't know that a lot of the competitors liked it, but in general, I think most of the competitors who don't win don't like it, and the ones that do win think the judges got it right. And that's happened for our students all the time. We look at a list of scores, and you have some judges that have the student marked higher than they should be, and the tendency is to look at those judges and go, those people know what they're doing. And then you got someone over here that gives them a crap mark, and they look and they go, that guy's an idiot. And even me, in some cases, I look at judges' marks for my students, and some of the judges that I respect the least give the marks that I like the most, and some of the judges that I like the most give the marks that I like the least. So there is no perfect way around that. So there's a couple questions hanging out that I said I'd get back to. Hopefully that kind of answers in a roundabout way, Martin.
Yeah.
There is, but okay, so we'll go back to Facebook. See, who's in charge here? Not me. So we'll go back to Facebook. Okay, Keith says, what patterns are fundamental to country two-step once you get beyond the patterns in your basics video? Are there patterns in two-step that are as varied and central as the whip is to West Coast swing? Yes. So you can understand, like, there's some basic couples terms that we talk about in our beginner videos, but then there are weaves,
Mhm.
and then there's, again, just like whip with an inside turn, whip with an outside turn. There's a weave into an inside turn, there's a weave into an outside turn.
There's a whip with an inside turn and a whip with an outside turn.
Correct. So there are fundamental patterns. That's kind of our goal over time. Because this doesn't exist for two-step, it a little bit does from the competitive aspect, but I think that they're a little disassociated, and we're competitive in that world, but they're a little disassociated with the social element. So it's kind of our goal to fetter through that through a lot of us that have taught a ton of social dancing and are competitors. But yes, there are definitely fundamental patterns. The weaves, the whips, there are different fundamental patterns in two-step that we will hopefully build out. Segue, we are actually working on this for West Coast Swing where we're going to try to create like a pattern flow chart.
Yeah.
So if pushes, passes, and whips are your fundamental patterns, what flows from a push, what flows from a pass, and what flows from a whip. So we're trying to work on kind of a document that'll help you engineering type leaders work your way through the hundreds of patterns that there are. So hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Keith. If it doesn't, let me know. Gordon says, I really struggle. He struggled a lot with West Coast while learning salsa. Yes, because they're slotted dances and they get confusing. Gordon also says he wants to ask in regards to novice competition, how is he able to progress? Can you just type that for me? Hang on,
Gordon, you've been in novice for a while and you're wondering kind of how to get out of that. Like what, you haven't seen much progression, so you want some key things to work on to get you out of your novice level, I believe. I think novice is the hardest level to
So
get out
hard.
of because
So hard.
there are so many people in there. Some people don't. Some people skip straight to novice. Some people don't do newcomer. Some events don't have newcomer. So all levels of newbie kind of dancers are in novice, and you have to have so many points to get to intermediate that it takes or can take a really long time if you don't have the events that you can attend to get those points. So I think for both leaders and followers, novice is probably the hardest level to get out of the Jack and Jill competitions.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, and I'll try to make it as succinct as possible, and I'll say, judging West Coast Swing competitions, there's so much in the novice level, right? Because, like, I don't have points, and I don't think you have points.
No.
I don't think you have points.
You do now.
Nope.
Do I? I think so.
No, 'cause
So-
we weren't
So as
expecting-
professional dancers, you could theoretically
I think
throw
I have
us.
3.
You could throw us into the novice division, right? So you got to deal with us being a novice, right?
Depending on the head judge, because Dawn would not allow us to
Correct.
be in the novice.
But the point is, you can have some pretty accomplished dancers in novice, right? So they've got to get out of your way because they're budding professional dancers or maybe professional dancers in general, and the rule states they have to start at this level. So there's a myriad of people in novice, and you'll get told you need to work on timing, teamwork, and technique, and that's a pretty good way to go about it. It's a little dry for me, but you basically have to develop your entire skill set, right? Can you move? Are you connected? Can you stay on time? I will say this, if you impeccably know your timing and you can exhibit some musicality as the leader or the follower, that will separate you. So I always say musicality is what separates people in novice, and that sounds like a ridiculous thing because it seems like it's skipping a step, but if you can accomplish clear musicality that I can see, that tells me as a judge that you have to fundamentally know your patterns, you have to fundamentally be able to lead and follow, you have to fundamentally be connected, you have to understand music, and you're able to do all that regardless of who you drew, whether you're the stronger or weaker partner. So, but there are a lot of steps to get there, so it does take time, and I wish there was an easy answer, but whatever steps it takes you to understand and accomplish musicality clearly within your patterns as a leader or follower, chances are you are now a pretty darn good dancer, and that will start to show up in your novice points. So lots of good stuff coming in on Facebook, on YouTube. Jake says West Coast Swing is the California state dance. I guess it makes sense with the movies. back in the day. Yeah, we did a couple of different articles. You can YouTube history of West Coast swing, and then West Coast swing past, present, and future. And I've done 2 interviews with a dance historian that had some really cool stuff about West Coast swing, both the genesis of it and how it came about and it moved across from the East Coast. Super fascinating how it's evolved and how I ignorantly was watching the evolution go on in my dance career, but I didn't understand until I looked into its history and past, up to including the evolution of the Zouk influence. So this is a fun one for me. So Zouk has significantly influenced West Coast swing. Years ago, I saw a video from a friend of mine who was friends with Jordan and Tatiana, and they had gone to Brazil in the 2006 or 7 and come across this Brazilian dance, Zouk. They took that influence, they put it in their dancing, right? So then the rest of us start copying the videos we see of them, not knowing that we're actually copying the influence of this Brazilian dance, Zouk, which a lot of the hardcore West Coast swing dancers know. And years later, Megan and I bought a bunch of Zouk videos and learned all the fundamentals of Zouk, and we learned that some of the stuff that a lot of us have been copying from Jordan and Tatiana were actually fundamental Zouk concepts and patterns that were literally off of the DVDs of the people that were good at it. So that's where a dance form can get influenced, and that's been a big influence in West Coast swing. Someone said, where do you see West Coast swing styling goes as it's changed over the years? Again, referencing that West Coast swing history video, I think it changes based upon the current music first and foremost, and the people coming into the dance form who basically will then copy the people around them, right? And then nowadays, YouTube allows us to copy all sorts of brilliant dancers, up to and including there were high-level Latin dancers that were looking for fresh, new, cool stuff, and they came across YouTube videos and were hiring YouTube. Did you hear the story? Remember the story? So high level, like world champion level Latin dancers were flying in top West Coast swing dancers to give them choreography so that they would be cutting edge. And so YouTube has changed the game for that quite a bit, because now we're not just buying a DVD from 5 couples. You can look at someone who has, no credentials and didn't make the top 5 of anything, but are brilliant. Who's the guy you like, Derek? Is it Derek Huff?
Yeah.
Like Derek Huff, competitively in his Latin career, might not have achieved the highest levels, but the guy is brilliant. And because of the advent of video and TV and dancing being in our culture, that guy's brilliance as a dancer and as a choreographer gets shared, even though he might not have shown up in the top 5 Latin couple of the world video back in the day. Someone said, will the UCWDC West Coast swing evolve more like NASD? I don't think so. And to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about the NASD path.
I don't know about qualifications for NASD than a difference in style.
Yeah, can you speak on that? Do you know what you think?
As far as NASD goes, from what I have understood, if it's not a WSDC, because there's WSDC and there is, yes, and then there's NASD. So NASD has to have a specific amount of prize money. They have to have a minimum of competitors. There's a lot of different rules and regulations that go along with NASD. So to me, I don't necessarily think of NASD as a specific style. I think of it as a different circuit that requires specific things, whether it be classic or showcase stuff. So I've never thought of it as different, but West Coast swing in the UCWDC, I think, is pretty in line with WSDC in that rules and all of that stuff. Like Dawn Garish has been our head judge for Derby City Swing, which is a WSDC event. She was also head judge at our Nulu event, which wasn't sanctioned for the UCWDC, but it ran exactly like a normal UC comp did. So I don't know if that quite answers your question, but...
Yeah, I think, do you have any?
Nope. No clue.
Yeah, so, and from an event director standpoint, having been around for quite a bit, I actually think the World Swing Dance Council does a pretty darn good job in that they set out a basic set of rules. they pass that down to the events, and then they sit back and they seem to be, this is just my personal experience, this is not an overarching, but from my experience, they've done a great job. A lot of their rules, they're just very clear to us. They go, hey, this is the rules you have to follow. If you follow these rules, great, off you go. The UCWDC does not function the same way. They are much more, I think the fundamental difference is the World Swing Dance Council seems to sit above all of the event directors. So they're kind of making decisions as the World Swing Dance Council, but they don't have specific vested interest in the specific events, where the UCWDC, the council that sits above it all, the United Country Western Dance Council, its directors are made up of the actual event directors. So there's a slight conflict of interest, because they're not just making a decision that's best for, you're laughing,
No,
you're
I'm
laughing. Because they're not necessarily making decisions that are just in the best interest of the dance sport, but the people making those decisions are actually event directors, so they're kind of worried about themselves at the same time. So it's a little bit of a disconnect for me. So I actually think the World Swing Dance Council does a really good job, and so does the UCWDC, like especially the founding members, and it's incredible what they've created, but I think there's that slight disconnect there. And I don't know much about NASD and its history and evolution in West Coast Swing. Lots of good stuff flying in on YouTube. Where do I see West Coast Swing styling goes? Is it changed? I answered that. Gary said he must confess that he ordered the book, The Art of Learning. That's awesome, Gary. I've read that book 3 or 4 times. It inspired me to dance again. Its fingerprints are all over my current view of the learning process.
These are fun.
Hayden said, what's the best way to grow a West Coast Swing community in a town of about 100,000 with 10 to 15 committed dancers? That's great. And coming up in somewhere in this evolution is an interview with Jason and Sophie.
Totally.
Yeah, so Jason and Sophie live 90 minutes up the road from here, and they're professional dancers, and they've grown a great community in the Cincinnati area. And so I want to pick their brain. I've watched it go on. I've danced since before Sophie danced professionally. So I've watched their evolution, and they've done a great job at creating a community. So without getting into the specifics of what they have done, which we'll try to do in a video interview at some point, but something consistent, right? So if you have a consistent dance night or a consistent class, create that, pick the day, commit to it, right? So we've been teaching Thursday night classes of West Coast Swing in this studio literally just about every day for 15 years, save for the coronavirus or Christmas or Thanksgiving. And even then, if we didn't have families, the dancers would show up, right? So I think that something consistent, whatever your dance night is, consistent. Number 2, something for people to look forward to. So in a small area of a small group of people, it could be a mini workshop, maybe a Saturday workshop, right? If there's a local teacher that can teach a couple of different hours, maybe have a potluck dinner and then have a little dance, even if it's only 10 or 12 people. If you could do that quarterly, that seems to be a good thing, right? And it doesn't have to be an outside person. If there's a teacher that's teaching in that community at any level, and if you have danced the basics and you feel good to teach just the basics to the next set of people, start. You don't have to be a professional. You'll learn a lot by teaching, right? Like Megan used to assist me in class and not say a word. And then next thing you know, she was talking, and now she's a fully functional dance teacher. And then she didn't talk on videos, and now she talks on videos. And so I think consistency of your classes, consistency of your dances, and then something every quarter, that will keep people having something to be excited about looking forward. And then over time, that will grow. But you can shoot me an email, brian@westcoastswingonline.com, and we can talk a little bit more in detail about that. And that will inspire me to talk to Sophie and kind of build out something to grow
I think
dance
there's
community.
also a YouTube video on that. I'm not sure if it's out yet, but there was one done.
Yeah, that's something I want to do. Jake says, could you explain your interpretation of musicality? If there's a solo in music, you shine. If there's a break in music, you stop and accent moves that match the music. And he says, thanks for your time. You guys rock.
Yay.
Do you have anything to say about that? I just did a musicality course. I got 6 hours of stuff to say about that.
Well, you can talk first if you
You
want.
just watched it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff, right? So there's critical timing in the music, 2, 4, 6, and 8. That keeps us on time. Then there's what I call counting straight eights. That's counting your pattern. So in a sugar push, if you did 3 sugar pushes in a row, normally we'd go 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. But really, you should be counting straight eights, right? That is the 8 beats of the music. So now you do your 3 sugar pushes. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8. 1 and 2, anchor 3 and 4, walk 5, 6, 7, and 8. 1 and 2. That's counting straight eights. That starts to sink you into the music. And then there's a myriad of different things that you can do from there to accent the music on 1s, 3s, 5s, 7s. Typically, you get your accents. The ones on the major phrases every 32 beats. It goes on forever. So I wish we did a live video of about 30 minutes, which really scratched the surface of Musicality, which actually re-inspired us to redo the Musicality 2.0 class, which I will link up there. So if you really want to dig in, not them selling you stuff, but that Musicality course really walked us through. I think it was 20 videos when it all came down. Soup to nuts, from staying on time to really digging into a high-level song and all the different accents. Do you have anything? 'Cause I can find it in the
Sure. So as far as musicality goes, I think a lot of it has to do with styling, and a lot of it has to do with the feel of the music that you're actually dancing to. So Megan and I did a couple of styling classes that you either took out steps or you added steps. We syncopated. We just did some step taps. We did level changes. But I think that depending on what you feel as your own dancer, whatever you feel is completely valid to try and hit if you're trying to do musicality, if you're trying to style, if you're trying to do any of that. Because I think that it's all incorporated in hitting a stop or hitting a hit or making your partner do something that you want them to do. So I think the musicality course is super helpful. I think the styling stuff is super helpful because it allows you to kind of have a little bit more freedom in what you're doing and not just the normal triple step. But yeah, I think it's kind of the beauty of West Coast Swing. Again, it's a conversation between you and your partner, and depending on what you're feeling with the music, it changes, and that's part of the cool part of it.
It is. I dropped a link to the Musicality course that we just finished. It's version 2.0. I'm really super proud of it. But to Emily's point, right, like the Musicality course kind of at its end is here's a couple of ideas of specifically how we're accenting the music, right? Because the Musicality course uncovers the music and how to understand what's going on, and structurally within the patterns, the different places you can start to think about accenting the music from a basic perspective. It's not basic. Artistic perspective. But then what you do to that is kind of where the styling stuff picks up, right? So they kind of addressed it in their styling stuff. So that's where like the ultimate guide is styling for leaders and followers picks up. So yeah, so it's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. But I think for me, the musicality course really unlocks the connection to the music. Once that becomes automatic, then what to do with it becomes a little bit easier.
And you have your own tool set too. So what if you find something on YouTube or you see something in a musicality course, you find something that works for you, and so you're able to manipulate those things within your own body and what you're comfortable with to make that kind of your own thing.
Super fun stuff. There's a lot of good comments coming up, and we'll try to get them all. That's weird. Anyway, Facebook comments. Let's go back and make sure I get them. Amanda says, thanks for doing these dance interactions. I feel like I'm picking up a lot without having to have a partner to practice with. That's great. And this is because we've got the free time. It's fun for us to do. It keeps us sane.
I'm also interested as to what people want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, us too. And that's the joy that this has done. So even at 15 plus years of dancing, almost 20 years when we started this, I'd literally taught in this little piece of floor countless classes over the years. Like I taught every Thursday night a beginner and intermediate class for like 12 years straight without fail. I taught it with a broke. So I taught a lot of lessons. But through this practice of the online videos and emails, we learn a ton, because how many people can we teach in a night? 20, 30, 40, right? But now we are interacting with hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands, and the thought that we could put out a video and like 20,000 people could see it is incredible, and the feedback that we get helps us understand what people want, to Emily's point, and then we create content around that. So Tim says, thanks for the feedback about competition. Would love to see and hear more about it in the future. Thanks for all your work. Yes, and I've kind of tried not to forward load the competition stuff, because I kind of look at West Coast swing and dancing in general like a funnel, meaning the big part, everyone progresses through the new people, right? Then we become intermediate and advanced, and then we become competitors. So I've tried to forward load the beginner stuff because everyone needs that. And I've been a little bit lax for the competitive stuff. So thank you for reminding me, and especially now we get some time, we can dig into some competitive style stuff for you guys. So Keith says, you guys look like you're moving your studio in a big way towards the use of social media and digital content as being central to your business. When did that start and what triggered it? Yeah, no. So
No,
actually,
West Coast Swing Online.
that's a great question, Keith. So I'll tell you the long-winded story. I had back surgery back in 2013. So I've had struggles with my back going as far as 2003 is when I first ended up in the hospital with back issues, and fought that for about 10 years. 2012, I was a competitive dancer in American Rhythm, and I was struggling, and I ended up in back surgery and was down for basically lost 9 weeks of work that year, and then 6 weeks around the surgery and all that garbage. And when I was trying to get myself better, I came across a guy by the name of Kelly Starrett. I mentioned this in a previous video. It's if you Google the Ready State, Kelly Starrett, S-T-A-R-R-E-T-T, the Ready State on YouTube. I came across this guy who was a brilliant physical therapist. He had a CrossFit gym up in San Francisco. And he became famous by putting out a video a day, every day, for 365 days, right? They were literally like YouTube, like iPhone videos of him getting ice cream with his kids and talking about, he'd be sitting on a stump eating ice cream, he'd talk about the position of the squat pattern and where your body needs to be. And so this guy's online resources allowed me to quickly go and find answers to the questions that were plaguing me, right? Like, why is my back bad? And why my hips don't move the right way? And I was able to educate myself through his free videos. And so I thought, there's no way I can put out a video a day. So I thought, can I put out a video a week? And that's where our West Coast Swing Move of the Week was born. It was from Kelly Starrett. And we did that for a year. And then I was like, hey, would anyone be willing to pay for our content? We put it out. It's gone really well. And so we put out, we opened up West Coast Swing Online, and it went well. We hit our goal in 3 months of opening it, and it's just continued to grow from there. So that was the genesis for West Coast Swing Online, and then I'm a big believer in free content. I'm just a big believer in free content. I'm a big believer in free videos at events. And so my idea is that the more people that we help, the wider we cast that net and the more value we provide to the community, a few of those people would be willing to pay for our content, and that lets this become a business that survives and lets us, pay Mr. Benjamin to come in and man the camera, even though he had to go home tonight, probably because I wanted to save a couple bucks, let him go home anyway. But that's the genesis.
I think he decided to leave.
Yeah. What's the difference between hip movement in West Coast Swing and salsa? I'm trying to learn to be less salsa dancerish. So to me, the roll through the feet in Latin, we would say the articulation through the foot is toe, ball, heel, into the knee, into the rib. And that would get us our Latin cha-cha salsa motion, right? Toe, ball, heel, knee, rib would be the action. And I think it's the exact same for West Coast, only in Latin we're doing toe, ball, heel quickly, so we can accent the knee and the rib and the body isolation. But in West Coast, we're delaying the action. Toe, ball, heel is the main action of it, and you get very little hip, very little rib. So I I would slow down the rolling of your, you guys can chime in, slow down the rolling of your foot, which is why we talk about rolling of the feet, because instead of this being the quick part and the longer part being the hip and the rib in a Latin dance, we're slowing down this so it becomes more about the feet and the knees, and it translates less into the hips and the ribs.
Yeah.
You said,
That's exactly what I do.
bingo.
Yeah, no, agreed. Like there is less focus on the hips, but it is a stylistic choice. But in general, the rolling through the feet is slower, so you don't have as much time to react with the rest of your body unless it's a conscious effort to do so in a specific way. So that's all I got.
Bingo. So hopefully that answers your question. Then Gordon says, true, my timing is getting better and my understanding of music according to the music. Yeah, that's a big step. Hello, Ken from Brazil. I love Brazil. I was in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu blue belt, 3-stripe, and my coach and mentor in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is Scenic from Rio de Janeiro. And so I've always wanted to go there. I love Brazil, and I have a lot of Brazilian friends. So, and I know that West Coast Swing has really taken off there, and that's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
That's pretty cool. I give my life for Jiu-Jitsu. Pretty amazing. Tracking back to YouTube, question came in was, have we thought about doing West Coast Swing in a scenic location like a lot of swing couples are doing, like featured on the Wandering Westie stuff? Yeah, you know, in the early years, we did quite a few like on-location videos. So if you go to our YouTube channel and you look through the playlists, there's an on-location section.
Playlist.
Yeah, like probably long before.
Wondering Westie existed.
Yeah, long before Wandering West existed, I have videos doing West Coast Swing in front of Mount Fuji, and on the south rim of the Grand Canyon, the bottom rim of the Grand Canyon, and then the north rim, that's the far side that no one ever goes to, because it takes like 6 hours to drive there, or you got to hike across it, which is what I've done twice, and somebody went with me once. So cruise ships, and so we have a good list of on-location videos, but to be honest, we've spent less time doing that. We used to drag our video cameras everywhere we traveled, and it just got to be super time consuming. And there's some great people that do a great job, and to be honest, better than we probably do. So we spent our time basically supporting the dancers and the material that they needed, and less of the just pure entertainment stuff, because there's so much good stuff.
But who knows? They might have stuff coming up.
Yeah, you never know. Because the people who do those, it's incredible. Anytime you're good at something, it takes so much time and effort, and those guys have to put in a lot of time and effort. Not only are they brilliant dancers, but they're really good at editing, they're really good at choreography, they're really good at music. They spend and some of them are my friends, they do a boatload of time editing,
Yes.
like we did today, but ours were focused on basically nightclub videos.
Tutorials and not necessarily entertainment.
Yeah, so this is our stab at entertainment. So I love that stuff, and maybe someday I'll get excited. We shot, so we're working on the quality of that stuff, but maybe not right away, because there's so many things we want to do to support dancers, like, for instance, the interview with Jason Sophie about building the community. There's so many content things that way that I'm interested in doing. So, yeah, good question. And we have shot some on-location stuff. We used to do some...
They're just not the production quality that Doug Stilton may have, done. But he has hours of editing into that. And yes, they're super cool and they're a lot of fun to watch. I think we did it more for the background and just the environment rather than...
Except for the one in New Orleans and Bourbon Street that we shot right before we left.
That was funny.
And
They were cleaning the street.
They were cleaning the streets, and we've been out till whatever time in the morning. And my mom watched the video the next, when we posted it, and she was like, "Oh my God, how long were you out the night before?" Because I was bumbling, stumbling through everything. But it was on New Orleans in Bourbon Street with the background. But yes,
They're cool places.
there's your scenic location stuff. Yes, I think some people do it really, really good. And probably better than we would do, so...
They have video production companies, though.
Yeah. Keith asked so much about answering the business question. You're doing a great job in so many ways, like these sessions. Yeah, Keith, and I tell people, like, if you are, and I've consulted for a lot of business stuff as my business has grown. A lot of my friends who've got different businesses, everything from dance studios to hair salons to FBI agents, jujitsu websites, what else? Physical therapy stuff, all sorts of businesses I've consulted with over the last several years. We all have a unique voice, and so I am excited for people to get their unique voice out in the world, and it's interesting to watch all the people. I had a friend call me today who started a podcast, video podcast, asked me to be a member on the podcast. So this is a great time. Hopefully we were slightly ahead of the curve in that, in creating some content that's helpful for people. I mean, dancing is what we know, so most everything will be related around dancing. But if anyone wants any help with their online business stuff, I do some consulting for that stuff too, and I actually am really fired up about it because it's such a win-win, right? Because we're giving away all this free content. We're excited about it because it helps people, and that's like heartwarming and good, and we get lots of really 500 to 1, by the way. We get about 500 emails that are awesome to every one terrible, douchey one. And I want to do a video of the most ridiculous emails we've ever received, because we do get ridiculous ones, but literally, I tracked it a bunch of times, like 400 to 500 to 1 of awesome, thankful emails to Emily's laughing at herself a video. As I said, douchey.
Yeah. You get to see your faces.
Yeah, as it looks like to us.
Right. I know what they look like. It's my face.
Do you?
I do.
Speaking of timing, do you think low to mid-level intermediate dancers if I understand Philip's question, speaking of timing, do you think that low to mid-level intermediate dancers should be dancing to the count or the and or the count? And do you think it lends itself to better swing music? Both. So we did a video, if you guys know who Skippy Blair is, rolling count is a concept of using the and of the music. And so the and basically says that there is, if I count music, 1, 2, 3, 4, but I can break that music up into 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and right? That's just a way to show the space of time between the music. And then what would I do within that? So at a basic level, I want to stay on time 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, right? I want to be clear with that timing, and that's a big hurdle to get through, right? Once you know that cold, what am I doing between those beats of music? 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and that discussion could go on forever. So I think that the progression probably needs to be 2, 4, 6, and 8, understanding where you are in those parts of the pattern cold, and then understanding how you move through your foot in each part of those, right? So if I'm stepping back on 1, am I doing like my coach said, David Cross back in the day, you're dancing like you have blocks in the bottom of your feet, 1, 2, right? Or am I dancing 1 E and am I progressing through the beat of music, and am I moving through my foot? And so from that standpoint, you can use 1 E and as a way to think about it. As soon as your brain can handle that, I would say. By the way, I know Miss Megan really well. She's ready to go.
Sorry, my hip hurts really bad.
Yeah, no, you can hang out. Let's talk. You're good. Say goodbye.
Bye, guys.
See, this is like real life. Megan's like on schedule. We didn't schedule being here this long. This is how we roll.
No,
And
she's
since-
gonna
Just
stay
really
home with
weird.
her dog. Namaste home with my dog. That's where
Yep.
she's going.
Yeah, so Philip, hopefully that answered your question. As soon as your brain is clear of counting patterns, right? Can I count the music? Awesome. If I can stay on time with my patterns and I can count the music, can I go back to counting the music and the entire beat, 1 E and 2 E and 3. Great. And then what do I do during that? Kind of Emily's thing earlier about technique and styling. Like, what am I doing with that and how am I accenting that? And then it just goes on and on and on. So at any point,
Second part.
also, do you think one leaves itself, so finishing Philip's question, Do you think one or the other lends itself to swung music? Um, yeah, so swung music is where everything isn't even 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it's a triplets, right? Where the musician's playing triplets. And I've got a video that I actually, quite frankly, stole from YouTube, and it was, I think, a piano player?
Probably.
Piano player. I think it's on the site, and it's talking about swung music, because he talked about swung music and the way that the musician plays the music. And to be honest, I think West Coast swing in its earlier stages definitely was that way, and I think it's kind of, we can switch to people for the camera. Yeah. Hi, Miss Megan, love you.
Oh,
Oh, shoot.
Facebook, we
We're
might have
using,
to sign
yeah.
off.
So, yeah, if I'm dancing to swung music, yeah, I need to count. I need to count 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a, because I need to start to match my dancing to the music. And that's actually something we're going to add to the very end of the musicality course. How do we deal with the 4 different styles of music? Because that's super high level, and that's only a few people are really concerned about that. But yeah, definitely, I need to understand all of the iterations of that beat of music, and then I need to choose which song I'm dancing to and how is that accented to choose which one I'm dancing to. So hopefully that answers your question. Because it's a good question. It's deep, super deep. Gordon asked when we first started organizing our events. I think Derby City Swing was 7 years ago. Yeah, so we've done 7 Derby City Swings, and it sits in attendance-wise at about 600 people. That's paid attendees. Sometimes events will count everybody in the room, but that's about 600 paid attendees plus staff. So it's topped out at probably 660 at its highest. It was probably in the mid-5s this year. So that was about 7 years ago. Nulu last year was our first year. This would have been our second year in this May. So is it a big blow to come into sharing? I understand.
It's a good way to share with our communities, if that's what the question is. We've got the Knoxville community, we've got Nashville, Chicago, Jason and Sophie are from Indiana. They kind of are in the
Cincinnati. They're in Kentucky.
They live in
Kentucky. Not
Oh
Indiana.
yeah, sorry, my bad. I'm not from here. Whatever. But I think it's in that capacity, it's a good way of sharing West Coast to our Midwest area.
Yeah, and going back to the earlier question, like how do you support a community? Like we started without a strong West Coast swing community back when I opened a studio. And of course, I was very attached to the country and swing world, so I opened a ball and dance studio. We still teach ball and dancing. It's listed on the door, so we still teach waltz, foxtrot, tango, cha-cha, rumba, swing to everyone as well. But we're pretty passionate about West Coast swing and country dancing, so we introduced those dance styles. But as I was trying to grow the community, we kind of did what I said before. We kept our dance nights, right? So every Thursday night, there was West Coast swing. Even when we added other dances in, West Coast swing is always on Thursday. And then over the years, we created, Saturday dances. Are we still on that camera? Or that shut off? Hang on, YouTube. We're coming back. We're coming back, YouTube. We've literally run our battery cold. We've run our battery cold. We're coming back, YouTube. Don't let us go. So yeah, we supported that with local classes. We're coming back on video there, YouTube. We supported it with local classes, and then we used to have quarterly instructors coming in town, and then eventually,
Yep.
And then eventually,
There you go.
eventually we grew that into. Over time, we got to the point where, and I asked around in the community, like what do we need to do? What's the next step? And I asked other dancers in our community. Yeah, we're a little bit late. We'll come back. It's underway.
Oh.
And so eventually we got to the point where we thought our community could support our West Coast Swing event. And then eventually we were able to, hey, we're back, YouTube. We're eventually able to start an event, which started at 300 people and quickly grew to 5. And then the third year, 600, and stayed there ever since. So I think that's kind of the progression through your community. It took us a long, long time. I think a lot of people want to play the quick game, and we all think that it's the grass is greener on the other side. And I will say this, just not to dissuade you, but as your community grows, one of the things that's going to happen when it gets big enough, it's going to fracture. There's going to be people that like the way that Emily does it, people that like the way that Brian does it, and then they're going to divide themselves out. So there's even a progression to getting what we all think is amazing. And then there's fractures where it literally fractures and there's one side and another. And I've seen this in lots of communities around us. But eventually what happens is enough time goes by, it grows and knits back together. So there's Emily supporters and Brian supporters, but now they forget the argument that fractured the community back in the day, and it stitches itself back together. So when we look at communities and we think, oh my God, they're amazing, they have everything that we don't, the grass is greener on the other side, typically that has happened to get them there. So kudos to I'll use Emily and Brian because there's two people sitting here, but like to the people on either sides of those fractures, because those people keep things going.
The grassroots people.
Yeah, even when it fractures, it comes back. And that happened in our community, it happened in our studio. And fortunately, I've been around long enough that I knew it would happen. And when I saw it happening, it was sad and it was frustrating and it bothered me. But I knew what would happen, and I knew as long as we all stayed the course, it would fracture and continue to grow back together and still keep growing, and that did happen. Jake says to Philip, great question. There's no swing in modern West Coast swing music, so the dance is far from Lindy. Yes, we got to that earlier, where when the songs change through popular culture, it definitely changes the styles of the dance, and at a certain point, it's never going to go back. And that's what I've learned by watching dancing for a long period of time. I totally embrace the change because it's never going to go back. So I sometimes say I sit between the new school and the old school because I get where it's going and I don't mind it at all. But I'm kind of the expert in the old school because that's what I've done. But I don't say that, the old timers roll over in their graves if they saw what was going on. I go, no, that's what's supposed to happen.
It evolves.
Yeah, West Coast swing didn't exist until it evolved from Lindy Hop, right? So the West Coast swing that the people in 1988, 1992 knew was a very different dance than the one that initiated. So I'm okay with that change and evolution. And I think, as teachers, if we're okay with that and we stay on the cutting edge, and I watch all the cool people, and I sometimes, you know this, I'll pull out videos from people that know it's not on everyone's radar, and I look at a couple and I go, man, that's what it's going to look like, right? And I don't want to name names because I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but like I watch couples, I go, that's what it's going to look like. I wonder if that's going to be the next evolution. So that's super enjoyable for me to watch. Any other questions before we get out of here? Because we're going to get Megan her phone back. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Small group that hung with us this long. I appreciate you guys. What's tomorrow?
Tomorrow's a day of rest.
We rest tomorrow, so we're going to...
We won't have any videos.
Yeah, someone said it's true about fracturing within one community. It's happened. It's happened in all the cities around me. It's happened in our studio. It happens everywhere. And the big communities that we look at as the meccas, right? Like where we live, like Southern California in some ways, like Chicago is an incredibly strong community. DC, there's areas in Florida and Boston and some of these bigger cities. But from a grassroots level, there's probably been plenty of bickering over the years between those communities. It's normal. It's normal. There's nothing you can do about it. But the goal is to stay as positive as you can and try to support that. And it's difficult to go through. I think I'm much better at it now, but I had to go through it once. And it took a long time to get to that point of the fracture before we were able to, now I know. I knew it was going to happen, and I didn't like it when it happened. But it takes a long time. So if you're new, be patient, because we're all egotistical and arrogant, and we think, especially when we're smart, we think we know, we think we've got the solution. And there's so much to learn, and it's continual. And to this day, we're learning like every day, even through chats like this. So Gordon, thank you, buddy. Send us an email. We'll try to get you a t-shirt if we have one. And thanks for watching all this way. We're off tomorrow. We will post, hopefully tomorrow, our schedule for next week. And then what else? Well, you guys, you've been watching this long. You know what's up. You know what's going on.
Yeah. And if you have requests or would like to see specific things, please let us know too, because we'll try and incorporate that in our schedule.
Yep, best way is to email us, brian@westcoastswingonline.com. Brian, BRIAN, at westcoastswingonline.com. We're all in those email boxes. Megan primarily, but I've been in there quite a bit lately. So we take those, we throw them on a video list. Even if we can't get to it right away, when you guys give us good ideas, it does go on a list and it will get out there. Hopefully now maybe a little bit faster because we can plunk them in the live feed videos and get them out maybe even as early as next week. So thanks guys, thanks William, thanks Jake, Philip, everyone who's watching. Joe, Robert, Tony,
Joe.
Gordon,
Everyone.
Keith, Ken, I'm trying to remember the names. So thanks gang, be safe, wash your hands, and we'll see you guys again on Monday. Bye. I don't know how to shut that one off.
Oh, I was going to say.
I don't know how to shut this live feed off.
There's
Ben is home and in
a
bed.
reason.